What made you decide to marry a man who you met just less than 24 hours early?
Though it was Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, my parents were basically South Indians.
Because if I was in that situation, I would have just sat quietly and gone to the next station. Hi, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we have a special guest. Today, we have my mother, Lata Daniel. Welcome.
Thank you.
My mother is a force of nature. Those of you who know her know that. She is not only kind and beautiful, she is also very courageous and she gets things done. She has raised a family, she's built her career, and she has many, many, many talents. And I thought it's time that I introduce her to you guys. She has a lot of wisdom, she has a lot of life experience, and I believe that it's important for her to share her message with the world. So today I'm going to be asking you some questions and you're going to answer them, and yeah, we'll keep it casual as it flows. So you ready?
Yes.
So she grew up in Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, which is in the north of India, even though you're originally from South India. So how was your childhood like? How would you describe your childhood?
My childhood was very good, I would say. I grew up in a campus, which is IIT Kanpur. So it was a very beautiful campus with everything contained within the school, the hospital, the swimming pool, and the homes, and my friends, and a lot of place to play. And
Yeah,
it was a very, very big campus, with beautiful, with peacocks. It was a beautiful place, happy and enjoyable childhood, playing and playing with my friends outside, because those days we didn't have all these gadgets. So you have to play outside. So going out and playing, and there's no like girls and boys. We all used to play together on baseball, and we used to play kabaddi, we used to play everything, dodgeball, and we used to just enjoy ourselves. And during summer holidays, because it was too hot outside, we used to sit at home and play a lot of board games.
Yeah, that's an ideal childhood, I
Yeah.
think, that many kids nowadays are missing out on. So then you became a teacher. That was your first job.
Yeah.
And then you became a banker, right? And you moved to the city of Lucknow, which was away from Kanpur, for that job.
Yeah.
So why did you take that decision? Because I know it was a very intentional decision that you made to move out of your house for that job. So why did you make that decision, and what were the things that you learned during that time?
I grew up in, though it was Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh, but my parents were basically South Indians. So they were very conservative. So always there was a lot of like no protection around me. So there was not anything that I would do on my own. It was only with my parents, my father, my brother. And I've never gone out anywhere alone. So when I had written this BSRB exams and I got a job. So I thought that was a very, very good opportunity. Though I love teaching, what I was doing, I really loved. I was at the Methodist High School. I was teaching from 6th standard to 9th standard, science and maths, and it was a very, very satisfying and fulfilling experience. But yet, to leave that and go to another city was a big step. It was out of my comfort zone, but I somehow knew that I needed to take that step to be able to take my own decisions, to be able to travel on my own, to be able to manage my things on my own. At home, your mother does everything for you. Because even if you go to work, you're just going to work, coming back, doing some corrections in your for your school children, and everything is laid up for you on the dining table, and you just eat and enjoy life. So I wanted some bit of maybe taking up responsibility. Yeah, intentionally I did that, and it wasn't easy because of my conservative parents, but I think my mother supported me at that time, and she said that no, you allow her to go. One condition was every Saturday evening I should be back to Kanpur.
Then you got married.
Yes.
That's why you moved out again. And you got married. Those of you who know you and my dad think that you had a love marriage, that you met and fell in love because you were in the north and he was from the south. But that's not true. You had a very typical Indian arranged marriage. So, my question about this is what made you decide to marry a man who you met just less than 24 hours earlier, or get engaged to a man you met just less than 24 hours earlier?
See, the fact is that for us, the next step was marriage. Everything was laid out like, no, you do your studies, you finish your studies, you get a job. At least my parents were open to make sure that I'm working so that I get independent, and moving to Lucknow was the next step for me to take up responsibility and make my own decisions. So the next step is, of course, marriage. So, but in our scenario, as you know, it is arranged. Arranged means you can't expect to know a person fully. It's not possible. Even with I think we had less than half an hour to at least meet and even talk. It was less than half
Are
an
you
hour.
alone for that half an hour?
Maybe 15, 20 minutes because people went out and they came in very short time. So we didn't really get any time to know each other. So I knew a little bit of his family and things like that, but not about him particularly because and those days there was no social media, no nothing to
You can
look up
research.
and
Yeah.
see and research on your own. Of course, research is done by the family members. They try to find out from the others, somebody known, how is that person, how is the person's character. Those are the things that is that was important
Yeah.
for my parents. And I don't think we even were more any stuck about how much he's earning or anything. That also we didn't really bother much about. So for me, I met, and I know for sure that that same moment, I think after we met, we were asked to tell what our decision is, which is very very difficult. And but Daniel did say yes, and it actually shook me because for if it would have been very easy if he had said no, so that means everything is like no back to normal.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like everything will change. My life will change. What was my comfort zone where I lived earlier? Everything changes, and you start living with a stranger. So that actually scared me. It was not Daniel. It was just that the thought of being separated from my known family to unknown person. So I said I needed some time, which was
One night.
one night. Because by the time morning came, I somehow knew that this is the person for me.
Yeah.
I felt some peace within me. Uh, so that is something I feel is from above. So that peace which came to me, I said, this is the person for me. And then I said yes.
Yeah. You said yes, and that evening
That
you got
evening we
engaged.
had engagement.
So I've observed you over the years. One of her qualities that I really, really admire is her ability to adapt. If you don't know, I had a brother who was 100% disabled, and he lived with us for 19 and a half years until he passed away. So even in that situation, because he couldn't do anything on his own, he couldn't walk, he couldn't talk, even to move him from one place to the other, somebody had to pick him up, and that was usually you brushing and feeding and doing everything for him. And I didn't ever, through that situation, feel that my parents felt that it was a problem. Like, I've grown up in that household, and never did it seem to me that was a problem. It was only when later on, now that we interact with families with similar children, I see how they handle it and how differently my family handled it. And one of the things was that they were always happy, and especially her, even though she was the primary caretaker, she was always happy, always smiling. So what is it that gave you that happiness and that joy, even in what usually people would see as a difficult situation?
I've been always feeling that wherever you are, whatever situation you are in, be happy in that. But having Jethro was another level.
Yeah, that was quite
That was a
different.
different experience. So I would say to handle that situation, I needed a husband like that who takes it all in a very, very higher way. That everything is like, no, you really, it's not something to be sad about or anything to be troubled about. It's just something that is okay, God has given you, and God will give you strength to take care of it.
Everything happens for a reason.
For a reason, and it's good. And I believe even it's been 7 years since he's passed away. There was a reason for his life. As a family, a lot of the leadership which has been given by Daniel to the family has been very, very instrumental in my disposition. I had some of it, but maybe not to that extent. I wouldn't have unless he had supported me and given that leadership. It is, I think, the faith in God, like, because that was for us very pivotal.
Yeah, I think that's when you know that there's a higher power taking care of everything.
Yeah, so you really don't get worked up, you don't get worried.
Yeah.
Because, and we've never thought of Jethro as a burden. Even when people, till today, somebody says, oh, it would have been very hard for you. I don't think it was hard for us. I don't think even we said anything like, this too will pass.
This too shall pass.
Pass.
Yeah,
I don't think
we
we ever
saw it as a bad thing. I
yeah,
think that was.
that this too will pass.
Yeah, I think when we think that we are in a struggle, then it feels like a struggle. But then when we see it as a part of life, it doesn't feel like a struggle.
Yeah, and all three of us felt the same.
Yeah.
And of course, Jethro too had that faith,
Yeah.
and he was always smiling. That made it easy for us to take care of him.
So you raised both of us. Jethro was 3 years younger to me. So what were the things or values that you gave emphasis to as a mother in raising two children?
I don't think I gave emphasis to studies, right?
No. Sometimes.
Yeah, as a teacher, maybe I would have been like,
So you had in certain your teacherness came out.
instinct.
Yeah.
Teacher
You had me have a timetable and then you used to get me to do tests and do handwriting, like
Yeah,
one
that's
page
it.
of Hindi
Right.
and one page of
Yeah.
English. Those were the aspects, but I don't think it was as bad as some of my friends had it.
Yeah, yeah. 'Cause I grew up in a home where exam, if it's final exam or it is the semi-final exam, you had to stop doing everything. Like, no, you don't go out to play. You can't read storybooks. Nothing. You have to just study, study, study. And so I think once I had tried to do that with you, like your exams are coming, so no, you can't read storybook. And I remember Daniel telling me that don't make like a study like a burden on a child. Let it be like a good like experience, and you call it learning.
Yeah.
That you need to learn. And I think that's how then I changed a little bit on that aspect. But other than that, I think more is on the character.
Yeah.
Character was very, very important because if that is not there, I
It's
don't
a
think
red
you're
flag.
really getting up the next generation
Yeah.
the right way.
Because you can teach all the academics, you can teach
Yeah.
them to be successful in so many things. But then if you don't teach your kids to have character,
Yeah.
then the next generation is damaged, I think.
Because even when you were very small, I used to make you go and, like, if you say something which is not correct, I used to send you in the corner and look at the wall and think about what you've done. I don't know whether you really thought about anything.
No, but at least I knew that there was something wrong and I
Yeah.
had to think about it because this shouldn't happen again.
So that was the main thing.
Yeah.
So I think that was more important for us than academics or pushing you to do various activities or
Yeah.
various things. And that and becoming more socially conscious. I think we took you out to all the NGOs where we used to visit, where Daniel was involved in.
Yeah.
It was all part of, so it was not like we used to say holiday time and this is going to NGO time. It's not like that. It was all together.
Yeah.
Like we had a holiday. That itself was a joy for us, like having a time of we've gone to Mukti Mission.
Yeah, Kirga.
Like we used to go, we used to have time together with the children.
Yeah.
And our time, of course, we had. So I think that has always been the case where we have made sure that you all know that there are needs.
Yes.
And we need to meet the needs of the people around us. And it's not that we can be separated from them. It's all part. And this is all part of life.
Yeah. So I went to boarding school when I was 16, and then after boarding school, I went to Bombay. And by the time my parents were not in Bombay, they moved to Coimbatore, and so I lived alone in Bombay. In India, moving out of the house, living alone is not such a common thing, especially for a girl. So you only move out when maybe you get married or earlier if you go for work. But I was in college living in our apartment. So what allowed you to make a choice like that as a mother?
I'll be honest, on my own, I don't think I would have done that. Yeah. Because you're a girl, you're 18, and you're in Bombay.
Yeah.
And we're not there. And you live in an apartment, not in a hostel, which has a
Protection.
protection of the time or the people, the warden there. So you had to be, you were alone.
Yeah, it's completely.
So left to myself, I wouldn't have really taken that step. But I think again, because of Daniel's leadership, he said that we have taught her all that we have taught.
Yeah.
Now it's up to her. What's the use of her doing everything because of fear of us? Just because we are there behind her. So let her go out and then let her make her choices. And that we believe would be the right ones.
Yeah.
I think that helped.
That took a lot of trust.
Yeah.
So, do you think that time in my life, 4 years I was there alone, was that beneficial to me?
Of course, I think because we become more responsible, more able to take care. But I know there are a lot of things you already had a sense of responsibility because of Jethro.
Yeah, maybe.
Because even when you were, I remember when you were just maybe 6 years old and Jethro was 3. That's when Jethro decided that he would want to sleep in your room.
Oh,
Because 3 years, when you were 3 years, then you went
okay.
and you live
Separately.
separately
Yeah.
in another room. So then, when Jethro turned 3, then we asked him
Whether you.
whether you want to sleep because our bedroom was this side, your bedroom was this side. So we, Daniel carried him and said, "There you
Which
want
side you
this
want?
side." He went that side. So that's how we put him in your room. And I remember we put him in the on the floor. We put the mattress so that he shouldn't fall or
Yeah.
something. I was little concerned
Mm.
because sometimes at those days he used to get fits in the night
Yeah.
and things like that. But Daniel said, "No, we'll just put him and see." And because he showed the desire,
Yeah.
he showed that he wanted to. Because you are accepting what he is wanting.
Yeah.
That
You're
he, as
giving
a person,
space to
yeah, as a
something.
person, he wants to be like sleeping in the same room as a sister and not in the same room as us. So then we give that that
Choice
space.
and space.
Choice.
Yeah.
So we did that. So he used to cry because we used to keep the doors open, and when he used to cry, I would come and whether he needed some change or whatever I used to do, and sometimes fits. But once I remember that he cried, and by the time I came, you had already got up and you were carrying him, and then you were touching his ears. Because that's the way for the fits. And you were doing that, and I was so surprised that a 6-year-old girl
Yeah.
is sitting with a 3-year-old
Baby.
baby doing that. So you had that within you, and of course, as we know, 13 years. When you were 13, you said you wanted to take care of Chitro for a week,
Yeah.
and we left you. Chitro was 10, and you were 13, and we left you in Bombay,
Yeah.
and you didn't want us to tell anyone, any of our friends or family about this. And you took care of him for a week, and we were not even in town. We actually came to Coimbatore.
Yeah.
So which is very far. So even if in an
Emergency,
emergency,
but
we can't just come. And that too, I wouldn't have done on my own. So that also you had that within you. So you had that maturity, that responsibility. Those things were already there. So those became more fortified.
when
And
I
I
said.
think when you were alone and you had to take care of the house and everything. And I think
Yeah, that gave me a lot of experience to handle situations on my own. Even I was in a small accident, and how do you handle yourself in an accident when your parents are not in the same town? So go to the police station, file an FIR, all that. So I think that gave me the space to practice those skills, and therefore now I can practice that even more. Though now you're here, so I depend on you guys a lot more. So you've been doing a lot of public speaking. lately? Been talking in schools, colleges, churches, and at work as well. So your skills, not only as a teacher but as a public speaker, have been honed over the years. And many people who listen to you might think that at your level of ability or depth that you speak with, that it's a natural gift that you have. So is that a natural gift?
I don't think so.
Don't believe so.
I don't know. Because I never, and even in school, I never liked taking part in debates
Mm.
and elocution competitions and going in front of the stage and speaking. I was more into the cultural part of it, like dancing or singing or those kind of things, but not definitely not speaking. And so that was not something that I was comfortable with. And even after marriage, I was never comfortable with. Daniel used to encourage me a lot to speak because I had experience of Jethro, and he felt that we need to share those experiences for to others who could be helped. So he used to say you should speak, and I would say no. You are the speaker of the family, so you speak. I'll be with you. When Toastmasters came to VTech, so we had this VTech Toastmasters club, and he said, let's all join and all that. And I was like, I don't want to speak. And speaking that 7 minutes or 5 minutes and all that, I was saying, how will I speak? Then he said, no, you just come. I'm also joining. So then I started speaking. So it's not that because I was a teacher, so it's not that I could speak to my students, and I was speaking to them, and those were the things. But I think maybe more formal speaking, yeah, was something that I was scared of, and I used to get butterflies, even for my Toastmasters when I was doing my speeches. So when we finished the 10th speech, I think after that it became more easy. It was the time when I went and I spoke, and I didn't have any butterflies, so I knew that okay, now I am. There's confidence that is, yeah, coming there. Maybe it was inbuilt, and I had not discovered it, and now I love speaking. A lot of potential in everybody, and fear or the circumstances don't allow us to thrive. But I think you're a good example of your environment allowing you, yeah, to thrive. So you say you were timid and shy. I am. Nobody believe that now, but you say you were. So, but I remember stories of how you, even one story when you were traveling from Lucknow to Kanpur, where the train didn't stop at your station. So, what did you do? I got pulled the chain. The chain made so much noise that because it's not that I could reach the chain also. Oh, so you had
So
I
to
had to
ask
tell
somebody.
somebody to do that. We've traveled by train so many times, and I'd always seen this chain,
Yeah,
and
but
I
you
always
say chain.
wondered whether it really works. But I know it works because that day it worked.
Yeah, so she made sure that the train stopped.
Because it was dark, it was getting dark, and the stop was actually, this was like a steam engine, I think, because that's why it stopped at Kalyanpur, and that's my stop where I had to get down, and then IIT comes, and then the further down is another station, which was, I've never been that side. And so if it didn't stop, so it would have gone to the next station, which is beyond I-8.
Hmm.
And I wouldn't know how to come back. And those days there was not like enough buses and all. It was only those tempos.
Yeah. And you didn't have a phone, mobile
No
phone to
mobile
call
phones, and my brother
anything.
would have been waiting there
Yeah,
near the station to pick me up.
quite bold, I would say, because if I was in that situation, I would have just sat quietly and gone to the next station. And I also remember another story later on where we were in the Mumbai local train at the station, I think.
We
But
got down at Bandra.
yeah, so somebody had stolen your purse, and you literally caught that guy, ran after that, and she had Jethro in her hand.
Bag.
Yeah, she ran after that guy and caught
And
him.
you were also there.
And I think I was there because I remember this
Okay,
very
then you might be
clearly.
somewhere.
I would have been holding on to your leg, running after you. And again, you caught that guy and you shook him and, yeah, took your this thing. And he was a kid.
He was a kid. I felt very bad for him, though initially I was calling out for the police.
So I think you were quite bold because when you have two kids and you were running after them. But but her logic was very simple that I needed to
I
get
have
home.
to get home. I had to go to the Spastic Society for the therapy. I had to pay for the therapy. I had to pay for the auto. Then I had to come back and then go back home. I needed money, and with two kids, I can't be stranded at Bandra.
So, what would you say between your 20s and now? How have you changed as a person?
A lot of things have changed. Things that I wouldn't have done in my 20s, I'm doing now.
Like,
Speaking,
yeah.
taking charge of a lot of things. Those are things that I wouldn't be doing in my 20s.
No, did you imagine this would be your life?
No.
No. I think you are thriving right now. You are vice president of BT. You are trustee of Jethro Trust, which are NGOs that we run, and then you are doing your public speaking and doing so many other things. What's the best part about your life right now?
I like all my life right now, the family part, the work that I do at the NGO, the trust that we are running, and the fact that we are able to go to various colleges because the young people have been a burden for me
Yeah.
that they should not waste away their lives. They have so much within them. So they should not be aimless and purposeless. So I always say, okay, Jethro's no more and you are quite independently doing. So now I need to raise more Jethros and Olas.
So I think all the people who listen to her and meet her are they really benefit from your wisdom, and I think today my YouTube audience has also benefited from your wisdom. So I thank you for joining me today and answering all questions. So like this video if you enjoyed our conversation, subscribe to my channel, and if there are enough likes, I will get her back to my channel. So that should be your motivation to like this video and share it with your friends and family. Thank you for watching this video.